So what I've been wanting to do is not just have success stories of people that fully recovered using what I teach in my program. I want to also show people that are mid journey and have them come back along the journey so you can see what it's like being in the trenches. I think it's important to show people the journey. And luckily, my next guest, Teresa, is willing to share that with us. This is her 50% mid journey success story. We're going to have her back around 90%, and then when she's fully recovered. And this is a really good story so far. She's only been doing this work for about 8 months, and about 80% of her symptoms are gone. I hope you enjoy this, and I hope it helps you and convinces you that this stuff works. Right? Here's your evidence. If you want to be part of the community, this is a self-directed program, the Alarm System Reset. This is where you become the guide, because that's what it takes to get to the other side. You have to be your own guide. You have to become your own mindful gardener. Right? If you're ready, if you're done with all the researching, going down all the rabbit holes, and you're ready to commit, join the community. All right, let's get to it. And I have a special guest today. Her name is Teresa, and she has quite a story. This will give you a lot of hope, and this is going to make, I think, it's going to impact a lot of people's lives. So why don't we go back to you? Well, first of all, nice to have you.
Thank you.
So why don't you tell us about your perfect storm?
I hope I can tell this story like in a way that is understandable because I am really nervous. Now I could go all the way back, which I guess there is some relevant stuff. I'll try to just I'll do my best not to go out in the left field. I'm gonna try really hard. So basically my childhood, there's some things that like I hear other people mention that were really similar to what I experienced. The first thing is probably that I was really, really sensitive, like to the point where it wasn't even natural. I mean, all of my memories from childhood, there's some good ones, but the things that stick out and the things that like, they loop in adulthood, you don't know why. You could be on vacation. Why is that memory still looping? It's because there were these events that just feelings inside of me. Like I was always scared and there was really no reason to be, or I was like obsessing as a small child over things I shouldn't have been obsessing about. Like I don't know, I like thought about death a lot when I was really little. Not just death, but like what happens to you, like the concept of heaven and hell. I was for some reason terrified, like all the
Yeah.
time when I was a kid about that. It was it was kind of disturbing. But
Yeah.
other than that, you know, there was some abuse, nothing that like, you know, sticks out in a way that, is criminal, at least not most of it, but I think that's normal and I'm not trying to downplay the impact of that or anything, but because everything we realize affects us, whether we realize it or not. I realize it now, but there was a pattern of like, I would say teachers, authority figures, just adults from around the neighborhood for some reason. Um, my all of my memories are like people screaming at me, and each memory is not like I did anything wrong. I mean, a couple of them I did do wrong, but the punishment was like way out of proportion. Like,
Mm.
so just I felt really traumatized by a lot of things when I was little, and I didn't really consider it trauma up until, all this stuff happened later in life. It's just sort of these things that like I carried resentment and they would pop back in my head as just bad memories. Um, let's
What about
see.
like grade school? Were you ever
So
bullied and picked on?
I wasn't bullied, but I did want to mention school because if there was a clinical term that was called being allergic to school, I would have it.
Yeah.
I never adapted. I mean, my memories from K through 12 were just me. 8 hours of sleep was never enough. I went to school every day just completely like depressed. I was like, I resented the whole thing from the time I was a little kid. I never could, I never could pay attention. I never, I was never happy. I never felt like I was like it was natural. Like I hated it. I just remember my head being slammed against like the bus window and thinking like, why are all these people just talking, like all these kids just talking normal, like going like this isn't a big deal. This is awful. So it's just like I think school alone was traumatic for me just having to go. I still resent it till this day, but yeah, other than that, I just kind of nothing like major happened in those years. It was just really, I was just very unhappy. I think I was always depressed and stuff like that.
Well,
Um,
let's go back to your parents. What were they like? Were they divorced? Was one of them like a narcissist or an alcoholic or anything like that?
no, they stayed together. They're still together. Um, everything was kind of like normal in that
Hmm.
area. Um, I think there were things that impacted me, you know, that shouldn't have happened. Um, but there was nothing. It all goes back to me, and I'm not saying that like I'm not making excuses for whoever did it, but me being as sensitive as I was, I mean, things. If somebody had anxiety or they were angry in another room, I couldn't sleep. I would be the one like of the three siblings. I would be awake all night.
Mm.
If you know, I felt everything. People couldn't be screaming at each other across the road because it would ruin my fun. I felt it in my gut. I couldn't, I was just impacted by everything. I think I was just emotionally imbalanced or something. People, in adulthood call it being an empath. And I don't really like that term because it's of course it's like really necessary and great to have empathy, but it as a child that's I don't really think it's I don't
Yeah.
consider it a good thing. I mean, there's having empathy, but if you're someone if that's all stemming from you being a sensitive child, I think that there can be some really bad things that come out of that, and that's just what happened. I just couldn't. I was just impacted so strongly by everything negative. If somebody handled something the wrong way and screamed at me or whatever, I just felt like traumatized by everything. I don't, you know, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Did you just, I know this is left field, but did you have any unique little gifts that people have noticed? Were able to feel people out without talking to them, seeing anything spiritual come to mind at all?
I could probably write a book on the things I've experienced in that area.
Yeah, okay.
I it's the kind of stuff where like it just either sounds completely made up or like I was schizophrenic, and I know I wasn't. I'm here on Earth, and I don't actually experience things like that anymore. I didn't after a certain point, and that probably has to do with the uh well, I almost said the era of drug use because there was
Mm.
a later down the road I got really really bad into drugs, but remembering back for some reason that kind of stuff just stopped before that.
Mhm.
I know that like I had been prescribed like antidepressants and Adderall at different points in time, and maybe I think it was like somewhere in there I stopped experiencing stuff that I would consider supernatural stuff that can't be explained. I don't want to put a label on anything and
Yeah,
like
yeah. Well,
make
because
any claims of
you
what I
sound
saw.
familiar. You sound familiar. I've heard these stories of people that they come into this world and it's just not what it just doesn't align and resonate, and they're forced to suppress who they really are, and then this brings up symptoms, right? And to everyday people, it sounds crazy. A lot of this stuff is crazy, so they're being told to suppress a lot of this stuff. So it just sounds familiar to me because I've seen this
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, I've heard, it's interesting how, you know, people that have gone through this, because I've listened to a lot of people that you talk to, and there are so many similarities and so much overlap.
Yeah,
It's like it's just mind blowing.
yeah. Well, why don't we go into? So we talked about your history. Um, let's go into the symptoms and what kind of manifested the shit show. And you got a big list. What we'll go over after you talk about kind of like what came
Yeah,
up.
that's probably good because when I try to just name any on my own, I go totally blank. Like I had to work really hard on that list,
Yeah.
so I have to refer back to it. Um, so I don't really know where I don't know where to start next. There was a lot of other crap that happened, and then like I said, I eventually got into drugs really, really bad. In my Probably started in my early 20s, went all the way into early 30s. This is after, like, this even came after a bunch of moving around the country, just being impulsive, quitting school because I didn't, I was burned out on art. I went to art school.
Hmm.
Um, and it's interesting why I even burned out on that because everybody thought I was really good at painting and drawing, and I was. And everyone said, you should, take advantage of your gift. And I thought, I guess that's what I'm supposed to do, go to art school. And then I I went and I realized I'm not like an artist. I don't like, I'm not like all happy and relaxed just painting from my imagination. I'm trying to replicate things like a neurotic psycho, and I will I will like go for 6 hours without blinking.
Mhm.
My eyes will be bloodshot. It's really all just a result of me being like a perfectionist. I'm not having a
Mhm.
good time doing this stuff at all. And
Oh yeah.
it was just yeah, I can do it, but I'm not having a good time here. So that's eventually why I quit school. And then I was just totally lost after that. And that's when yeah, I got heavily into drugs, alcohol first, but
Hmm.
it got really bad. And I went in and out of like five different rehabs. And the last one sticks out the most to me because I left that one like with a different attitude and outlook than I left the other ones. I left like, I was gung ho about the program, and I was positive, and I was like, yeah, I can do this. I can do this. And I'm going to go to meetings and all that. And it just, well, it just didn't work. And then the
Hmm.
last one I left, I think by now, this is like 2016.
Hmm.
Um, I was just so depressed and angry at everyone around me that was telling me, you know, I gotta like basically dedicate the rest of my life to fighting like, this obsession because I started to I don't know why I just started to not believe that. Like all I wanted more than anything was to be healthy. I was starting to find it hard to believe that I couldn't heal. Like I just wanted to be normal in that sense. And I that last rehab, I was there a long time, and I did that whole ex, like that extended living part where you kind of hang around and try to like you just live in their housing or whatever.
Hmm.
I broke every rule. I was never so depressed and angry in my whole life. And I did actually relapse one time after I left there, and that was also that was the last relapse. It was the final one. Um it only lasted a few months, but it was strange. This is where like that whole chapter ended, and it's like kind of like the only time between all of that chaos and then me eventually getting sick was this event, and it was just bizarre. Basically, I was going out and getting high, not because I was like craving it. This is what was different than all the other times. I was just slowly like um I was going out and doing it out of habit. Like I didn't know what else I was supposed to do. I didn't, what else am I supposed to do was just something I did. And I wasn't reacting to anything the same way. You could almost say like I was developing an allergy almost to the drugs I was doing. I was like not having fun. It didn't, they were making me sick and, uncomfortable. That I was reacting like a normal person. My
Mm.
body was like my brain chemistry changed in a way that, people would tell me is impossible, and they still would to this day. But that's what happened. That's the
Yeah.
truth. And so I kept fighting it and trying anyway. Like I was like a robot, just ignoring these signs that something was trying to tell me, you're not going to do this anymore. You wanted to be normal. I'm trying to help you out. But I said, like a robot, I'm just moving my arm and like, I don't know what else to do. And I
Yeah.
kept trying anyways. And finally, call it, your higher self or higher power or God or whatever. But something or someone finally said, okay, we're going to do this the hard way. And I had a night where I was just begging the people around me to call for an ambulance. I was so sick. I can't even explain it, but it was easy decision after that. I mean,
Yeah.
I could never ever do drugs again. Like ever since
Mm.
then, there was a situation where I had to cave to, you know, a pain pill one time. And I didn't, my body didn't react like, an addict. It's like, yeah, it took the edge off. It took the pain away a little bit, but I don't have any, desire to go out and do 10 now. But,
Right.
so that was that. So now, I'm done with drugs, and this next era is like a year long. And basically, for the first time ever, I'm just existing in peace. Like I
Hmm.
feel free in a way. I feel like everything is quiet for once. There's no trauma, there's no chaos, there's no obsession. Even my mind was quiet for this next however long it was. It was like 11 months or something. I was just trying to recalibrate, and I was really grateful for what had happened because I knew it was over, and now I was just basically looking forward to like, the next chapter of my life. And it was good. Like everything was good. Um but then
The eye of the storm, the calm before the storm, I should say.
that's something that I've used that to describe all of that. Like was it really just me finally being all balanced and everything and calm, or was it just a calm before the storm? And that's apparently exactly what it was, because one day I noticed that I was suddenly losing weight. Like I'm small anyways, so it was really noticeable because the less you weigh, the more noticeable it is when you lose like 5, 10 pounds.
Yeah.
Um, this happened fast, like over the span of like 2 weeks. I lost like 12 pounds, and I felt completely normal. Like I still felt good. I was eating the same way. Everything was still calm. There was nothing going on like in my life. Um, but this weight fell off, and I was like, what's going on here? And also at the time, and I didn't, when it was happening, I did not connect these two things together, but way later I did. At the exact same time, I started getting these horrible night sweats, like, which never happened in my life. I never sweated in my sleep ever. And I grew up without air conditioning. So,
Yeah.
um, like I'm not talking a little bit of sweating around my neck. I would wear a hoodie to bed because normally I was like chilly, and I
Mhm.
would wake up during this time every morning, and it would be complete the whole thing like drenched. And I started going to the doctor to ask about the weight, because that was bothering me because I didn't want to look that thin. I didn't mention the night sweats because that was more of just like an annoyance. You
Yeah.
know, I felt fine. So I was just kind of like, what's going on with my weight here? And they said, well, you're a little low in vitamin D, but you're fine. And I was like, whatever. So I just continued on the rest of that, whatever it was, that 11 months was just me, that happened, but I was still calm and everything. And now what happened next was actually the disaster. So yeah, fast forward like basically 11 months or so from when I actually stopped doing drugs. Um, I woke up one day and I felt like my wrists hurt. I had joint pains, and it started off real subtle. Like I was telling my now husband, because by then I, was with him, and I was like, complaining, saying, I'm feeling like these pains in my wrists and like my fingers are starting to hurt. And it was really weird because I mean, I never had joint pain or nothing. And I would say from that complaint, like, I don't know, within the next 2 months, the I had about 50 symptoms. I mean,
Yeah.
or more probably. I can't name them right now. It was terrifying. I had no adjustment period. I had no time to like, just get used to anything, to process anything. It was like somebody ran me over, and I was terrified because I sounded crazy.
Hmm.
I sounded crazy to myself. I probably sounded crazy to, a lot of people, but the things I was saying were happening. It was so random and bizarre. I mean, I was getting rashes on my elbows, and I was waking up in the middle of the night and like the room was spinning totally vertical, just like I was holding on to stuff, and
Yeah.
earaches and weird jab. I could go on, you have the list, but
Let's go over the
um,
list while we're at it.
sure.
Um, okay, let me press. I gotta. Hopefully, the retrograde will be smooth. Cut as a background. Okay, let's see. All right, so I'm gonna read this off, and then we'll talk about it because there's a lot to read off. So I'm gonna try to go as fast as I can. Um, benign brain tumors. Benign. I can't pronounce that. Brain aneurysm, head pressure, migraines, lightheaded, unsteadiness, feeling like you're drunk, vertigo, loss of physical coordination, confusion, speech impairment, derealization, literal tunnel vision, visual disturbances, sensory hypersensitivity, phone noises, general odor sensitivity, light sensitivity, skin was too sensitive to touch. Yep. Any disorderly or busy social environment was unbearable. Blurred vision, poor night vision, eye floaters, internal tremors or vibration, vection. I don't know how to say that. Cold
I guess it's
sensations.
actually.
Bec- we'll just, I'm sure somebody can
I had
Google
to
that.
look that up. I didn't have a word to describe what that was. I don't, I just had to look it up.
Cold sensations around the brain or static helmet or a floating detached head. Crackling or fizzing sound inside the base of my skull. Yeah. Earaches, ringing in the ears, ear drainage, plugged up ear sensation, like you're hearing from under the water. Yep. Um, hypersensitive hearing, painful to hear even quiet noises, chest pains, heart arrhythmia, palpitations, shortness of breath, air hunger, panic attacks, peripheral movement sensitivity, neck pains, severe tightness, spinal pain, general mid upper back muscular pain, thyroid and lymph nodes, restless legs, flu-like muscle aches, joint pain, nerve pain, muscle cramps, leg numbness, spontaneous leg weakness, restlessness, instability, depression, general crippling anxiety, racing and looping obsessive thoughts, fatigue, low grade fevers. Yeah. Night sweats, dysregulated body temperatures. Yep. General feeling of unwellness, perpetual thirst, chemical sensitivities, loss of appetite, stomach aches, nausea, heartburn, indigestion, overall poor digestion, constipation, celiac. I can never see that one either. Um, metallic taste in the mouth. Yep. Hormone imbalances, hypothyroid and hyperthyroid. Okay, yeah.
Both.
Nodules. I said it right. Nodules on the
Yeah.
thyroid base of the tailbone. Stop periods. dyspareunia. I don't know what that. Overactive bladder, yeast infections, psoriasis, melasma, hair loss and thinning, itchiness, cracked heels and lips, dry mouth, dry eyes, watery eyes, mineral vitamin deficiencies, right? You had the iron, magnesium, vitamin D deficiencies, weight loss, kidney and flag pains, liver pain, insomnia, nightmares, phantom hangovers, and I think somewhere it's mentioned brain aneurysm.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's pretty. That's I think more symptoms that I had. Right? There's a lot of overlap, a lot of same similar ones. Some that are different, but
Yeah.
that's a shitload. That's a nightmare.
It was. And a lot of those are I didn't have all those at once, of course. You know how it works.
Yeah.
Things evolve, symptoms, some of them hang around forever, some of them only make an appearance in the beginning and then you never see them again. And a lot of those were like, I call them part two of my illness, and a lot of them were part one illness. And
Mhm.
and then there's the few that just kind of like stay underlying the whole way through.
Yep.
But yeah, it was it, when you were reading that list, it's like hearing someone else read it. I don't really, it just sounds like it does. That couldn't have been me that
Yeah.
made it through all that. There's no way, but
Right.
it was somehow.
There's times where I feel like an imposter. Like I'm like, I didn't really feel that badly. Did I really go through that hell? Right? Because when you're on the other side of it, you're not in danger. You're not reminded of the danger anymore, and you start to forget. And then when we talk about it, it comes back up and you're like, really? Shit, man, I did go through some. I have to take 5 minutes to go and remind myself. And it does come back up eventually. I have to try a little bit, right? But
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
understand what you're feeling there. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
it is. It yeah. Crazy is an understatement, but it's all the only word we got.
Yeah. So you're going through all this stuff. Did you try all the things that didn't work? Can you talk about some of that?
Oh God. I went through, like a naturopathic herbalist type. I went through functional medicine
Yep.
practitioners, more than one. Of course, first I went through all the regular doctors, infectious disease, rheumatologists, whatever, the one that deals with the hormones. I can't remember the name of that one. But
Yeah.
I saw different people. I eventually got like I was getting colonics with where you sit at like what looks like the top of a water slide. Um, you know, it, that wasn't working. I did IV therapies. I did like expensive detoxes. I feel like there's stuff, I'm going to remember later. I can't think of, there's few things I didn't try. Like I thought about trying, what's it called? I don't know if I'm going to say it right. Hyperbaric oxygen chamber.
Oh yeah, I
That's
hear that.
something I did not try. Maybe it's easier for me to name things I didn't try.
Yeah.
Um, that's one of them, but I tried over the years, like everything. And in a way, I'm lucky. Even though nothing helped, I was in a really, really fortunate position where I had a lot of support, and not just emotional support, but I had financial support from other people that really, really cared about me. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have been able to because I'm not, I don't have any money, but
Yeah.
um, I was able to try all these different things and see all these different doctors and run all these different tests. And that's how I got, that's how I, got to the answer. Because if I hadn't tried all that stuff, I would always be stuck in a place where I was like, I just can't afford the answer. The answer is out there. I just can't afford it.
Right.
Trust me, if you feel like, if someone's watching this and you're thinking, I can't afford, an easy fix to this. I mean, I don't want to tell you not to try, but if I were betting in Vegas, I'd put my money on you know, it's not going to matter. You
Right.
don't have to. You don't have to go through all that to find out. But luckily, I did because I don't know if I would have been able to,
Right.
go this route. It's hard. It's hard, and I sympathize with people um that are ducking and dodging it, or that like quit after a couple months, because looking back to like the third month that I was trying to, especially like the first and second month after I had discovered you, I don't know. I have no idea how I kept going, because I had no evidence at all
Yeah.
that it was working. Nothing. I mean, it was like all I had to go by was like your word and the people that you've talked to, their words, that, everybody that experienced similar things. And, which, by the way, I actually like procrastinated on even like going to your channel, because I saw people mentioning you in, I don't know, one of many, many Facebook groups, of course, that I was like, following. But I saw people mentioning you, the mindful gardener, and around the time someone else had, you know, shared something about brain retraining that helped them. And it was like, it was on my radar,
Yeah.
but I was still like, oh no, there's got to be something else. I
Yeah.
don't have the
Yeah.
strength. I can't, like, I'm in bed now. I can't, like, I'm seeing the world in like a little tunnel, and it's like, I'm not even here, and there got to be something else. But, and I thought, a mindful gardener, he's just going to tell me to like meditate and do the breathing exercises I've already been doing. I was like judging you by your name, and of course, it's not what it was. So,
Yeah.
so sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it got to a point where that was it. I had to look at anything. I had to, you know, I couldn't, I couldn't count anything out, and I think that's how most people get here. They
Yeah.
just they're at rock bottom. They're at a place where like, I'm either about to die, because that's what I thought. Like, I went to the bathroom one day, and like, I just thought, well, I don't want anyone to, next time people are going to see me, I'm going to look pretty bad. I haven't taken care of myself in a while. I'm really gross, and I'm just going to clean myself up a bit, because I don't, I think this is pretty much how people are going to see me, for the last time they do. And I don't even know after that point how I looked into anything else. It's like,
Mm.
I don't know, it makes you wonder, like, there's got to be something out there bigger than us. I'm definitely no atheist. I don't,
Yeah.
it's all strange. That's all I can say. But
So so you started watching my YouTube channel and then you got into the mind body space. So this did you stick to the work and did you and this is important to talk about because I tell people you don't have to join my program or my community to heal. You can just watch the videos and do it yourself. I would say half of my success stories are from people that just watched the videos and applied it themselves and became their own guide.
yeah, yeah.
So is that kind of
Um,
what you did?
yep, I did. Yeah, I have to say that, but right before you, a good friend of mine sent me a book, an audio book, because I couldn't read by then. It was Joe Dispenza, and he planted the seed about neuroplasticity. So that sounded sciencey and all, like, as you say, sciencey. So I
Mhm.
liked it. I could barely, I wasn't, I wasn't functioning all by then, but what he said sparked something, and you know, that's when, I should say, that's how I was able to listen to you and then trust that, okay, he went through what I did.
Yeah.
I already, heard someone else telling me that, in a really scientific way, how our brains are plastic. So I'm gonna listen and, do what he says. And that's what I did. It was not at all easy. It sucked. I mean, it was horrible.
Yeah.
Like you say, baby steps. I was bedridden like everyone else, and I just had to I think the first thing I did, I couldn't allow it first.
Right.
I thought I was. I thought I was, but really I took the first layer off of resistance, which was to me the first layer is
Yep.
just the added fear to the symptoms. That's the first thing I eliminated from the equation. Um, that alone got me some strength, and I was able to just take baby steps, and just it was agonizing. I mean, this process is so slow, but I just kept at it, and I didn't do things perfect. I don't recommend anyone try to, it's not that I was trying to take shortcuts ever. I think if I started feeling better, you find that you're cutting corners because you think you can get away with it. I think everyone does that. Um, no, you can't get away with that at all. I would I would know. As soon as I get too busy, so I think, to do visuals, and I'm thinking like, oh my God, I've only done like three three visuals this week,
Mm.
and I missed my walk two
Yeah.
times. If I would make a permanent habit out of that, I this definitely wouldn't work because I feel the impact of that. I mean, as soon as I get back on again, I feel better. And the way I see it, if you can do this whole process perfect, like stick with all the pillars, do everything, don't miss anything ever.
Yeah.
Even if you could do that, this is really, really hard. Like there's, you know, it's terrible. There's still symptoms you're going through, and it's bad as it is. So don't cut corners and make it even worse, because I tried. It's awful. But
Well, it's
I am,
guaranteed. It's guaranteed it's going to get worse. That's for
yeah.
sure. I tell that to everybody. Just because you're doing the work, don't think you're getting relief right now. That comes later. It's going to get actually worse. So giddy up.
Yeah, it got worse at first, even with me trying to stay on it, do everything every day, even if it was just in little amounts. It got worse first, and that's why I sympathize with anyone that quits. I mean, I would, definitely tell them that's stupid. Don't quit, keep going. But looking back, I don't know how I kept pushing. There's nothing there. You just like, I don't even know why I'm pushing right. I don't even know where I'm getting this energy to like barely try right now. I have no idea. It's like minute by minute, you just have to go through the motions and just keep, you know, go for that walk, make the walk longer each time. And it was hard for me because I don't have a place where I'm at where I could walk. I had to get in the car every day. So it was more of like a ordeal. So I was always like, sometimes I'd be laying there like, I can't do this today. And then I'd hear like your voice haunting me, like mocking, like, I just can't, I have this, I feel like I was like,
Yeah.
son of a bitch, I gotta go,
Yeah.
gotta go. And it's hard. But eventually those baby steps, they turn into like major accomplishments. Like now I go to adult gymnastics class like every other week, which is pretty unbelievable. And I
Yeah.
don't want anyone to think like, I made it clear when I first started going. This was like, I think like almost like a month and a half or 2 months ago or something like that. Um, I did not start going because I felt good or because I felt ready.
Mhm.
It was awful. Like the first two times I was there, like I was like trying to play it cool. I was like, I shouldn't have done that somersault. And I'm like holding on to like the mats and walking real slow. And I'm in a nightmare. Like I'm still having the derealization is still there when I put myself in situations like this. Like it's gone from my life otherwise, but like in busy places, I still get it, and I fully expected to be tortured my first couple times at gymnastics. It was awful. It was, and I was just trying to act like I was fine because I didn't want the coach to be like, what are you doing here, But I I just said, you know what? What told me I was ready to go, because I didn't feel ready, but what told me I was ready was the fact that I knew I could go without risking a real medical emergency. That's what you have. I think that's what everyone should ask themselves.
Mhm.
Am I going to feel absolutely terrible? Am I even going to need to sit down? Am I going to be like having the spins? Yeah, probably, maybe. But are you actually, do you think that you're okay to get through something without having a real true medical emergency? If the answer is, yes, then you have to go do that thing. You have to. I knew that that was something I had to do, or
Mhm.
it was always going to be in my head as this thing that like I can't do yet because I'm not well enough yet. It was just going
Right.
to stay stuck, just
Yeah.
like that. Um, and I listened to you when you said you have to live life first and then recovery comes after.
Yeah.
It's nothing has ever been more true.
Would you say what percentage of recovery are you at right now? Because this is like a mid-journey recovery story. How far would you say? 50, 60,
I
80%?
think I'm like halfway.
Okay.
I think I'm around halfway. Um, because I think like around, I don't know how to word this. I think a lot of people get stuck here. Like I don't know if I should say my symptoms are like 75% better, or
Mhm.
maybe you could say like I've, I lost 75% of the suffering. I don't know how to word that, but if you look at where you were at your worst, that still means that you're not, you have bad days. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not having a good time every day, but I'm functioning and like I'm participating in everything. I don't let nothing is controlling me. And I do, at this point, I'm enjoying a lot of experiences, even if I find myself in other experiences that are like, you know, getting me real activated and, having symptoms crash down. I mean, that happens too, but there's nothing that like, I get short of breath very rarely now. Like there's some things haven't returned at all. Like as soon
Right.
as I started this process, some things were out the window. And I'm so
Nice.
glad, like, doesn't feel like I'm on a treadmill, like just for
Yeah.
no reason when I'm
Yeah. I
walking
had the same thing. Yeah.
or going up and down in an earthquake, like a foot, like that was a terrible one. Or the
Yeah.
visual disturbances the scariest things of all are not here anymore, but the other
Right.
things are. And then
Let's say
also,
out of the 100 symptoms that you had in the list, how many of those are gone? How many would you say?
oh, since a lot of those are from what I call part one of my illness,
Yep.
if I eliminate, let's see, most of those, and then I eliminate like 75% of the rest, I would say, I don't know. I'm going to say something now. It's not going to add up with what I just said. Overall, probably from the very beginning, probably like 80% are gone. Um,
Amazing.
yeah,
That people are gonna need to hear because that is evidence for the brain. They need to hear that. And you're still on you're in the journey. So
I've only
just
been doing
imagine.
this for 8 months.
Whoa, 8 months. Holy
That's
shit.
all I've been doing this for. And you know what? You're not even doing it correctly at first.
Oh yeah.
You think that you're allowing and you're not. There's things that you think you're allowing. And I mean, I don't know. This is how it was with me. Like, I realized that there's like, I'm resisting things that I didn't even I didn't even know that's something that I was supposed to allow. Like I thought there's things in life like, I can't think of an example right now, but like there's certain things that you were assuming your resistance to that was actually a healthy reaction. Like you would have never
Mhm.
guessed, like, wait, I was supposed to be allowing that. I mean, it just this stuff you realize it in like layers it comes off.
Yes.
And
Hmm.
of course, I've been worried the whole time. I'm doing this wrong. I'm doing this wrong. And you get
Mhm.
scared and you hear things, other people saying stuff, but you know, as long as you as long as you just make the attempt the best you can, like the best attempt you can make every
Yes.
day, you can only go in one direction. There's no way around it. Like you will get better. You'll discover things and there's nothing you can do about that. I mean, that's just like that's just how it is.
I think this is already mind blowing. 8 months being consistent probably is very important to say. Being consistent for 8 months, showing up, and already you've made this much progress, right? And that's why
Yeah.
we're going to have you back when you're at 90% and then at 110%, right?
Yeah.
So people, this is what
Sounds
I
good.
want. I want people to see your journey in the trenches, how being consistent is important, where you're at, because they need to see the whole journey, right?
Yeah.
One question I do have, um, if somebody's going through this and they finally see this video, what give us a couple of pointers of something that will help them.
I would say just I it's so hard. It's so hard to give advice when you look back and remember how hard it was for you to take advice. But I would, if I could talk to myself, I guess, which is the same as talking to anyone else that was in my position, I would say just, you know, don't don't look for too much too much evidence that you don't try to find proof that this is going to work. Because if you try too hard to find proof, you're going to always find a reason not to do something. Just take your guard down and stop looking for reasons why something isn't going to work. I really thought I was a special case. Like I really did. I
Yeah.
mean, I tried so hard. I searched the whole entire World Wide Web to find someone that was describing symptoms as serious as mine were. I ended up in places I didn't belong, like in aneurysm Facebook groups and all that. Forget all of it. If you know if I can like ignore people that are in aneurysm groups that are telling me that my symptoms match theirs and that eventually their aneurysms burst, I can ignore that and just say, you know what, I got a bigger problem here than that. This isn't. If I can ignore that, you can ignore everything else, every other voice, every naysayer. You can do
Yeah.
it too, and just trust this process of allowing, because it really is the missing key. I would know because all the other grounding techniques and what's it called, like things like meditating and breathing exercises and tapping and all this stuff that I would say calms the nervous system in the moment.
Yeah.
I did all of that, and it's not good enough. You're not
Right.
going to get anywhere. You have to. This really is the missing key, the allowing part, and um, you just kind of have to trust that, even though it feels like that doesn't apply to you. It definitely, you know, that's just the way it is when you're rock bottom. You hear, someone like me telling you this, and you're like, this can't possibly, apply to me, but you know, you just have to trust and give it a try.
That's it. Trust, that's a huge one. Patience, trust, and I see, I've heard you say a couple of times, it's just you have to show up every day, never miss a day, and just try your best. right? It doesn't have to be perfect. That's another message. It doesn't have,
Yeah.
because I was at the worst. I was the worst at this too, right? I was the worst, but I showed up every day no matter what. And when I did show up, sure, it was half-assed. It wasn't groundbreaking. My visuals were meh, but it got me
Yeah.
to recovery.
Yeah.
And then eventually it got me to thriving health, right?
Yeah. You just have to make the attempt every day. It a lot of it it doesn't even feel like you're it doesn't even feel like you're doing anything productive at all when you're at your when you first get started. You're like, how it's like I'm doing it feels like someone told me to like, tap my head and spin around. Like it just seems completely like there is no connection to what I'm doing and what I'm experiencing. Like this can't be it. But you have to keep trying anyways. And you just have to push. You just have to do it. I mean, there's really you can't have excuses and that's
Yeah,
about it. There's I mean, because what options do you have? The way I
yeah,
see it, if you're like anything close to what I was, or like, like you were, what are your other options? You can try to do all the things that like we went through, but those all cost money and they're wasting your life is going by. Are you really gonna why don't you just do this work? Because even if it doesn't help, I mean it's not gonna hurt you. I think it's gonna help. I would bet any
yeah,
all the money in the world that it's gonna help. And but
yeah,
you know, why would you bother with anything else? But I guess that's
yeah.
because it's really hard and it's excruciating.
That's the
But
thing.
but
That's
if
the
you want,
catch.
yes, that's the catch. And I get it, like I said, but I don't think there's another answer to anyone's problems.
I think you're right. I think this is the root. And this is becoming your purpose to go through this every day and have the success stories. And then when you fully recover, you're going to be helping people if that's what you want to do. But most of us usually do. We want to help them by showing what we've been through, right? The
Yeah.
person that's went through the hell and look, I did it. You can do it. No excuses.
Yeah. That's what saved me. I mean, if I hadn't found you or anybody else that was telling their stories, I don't even want to imagine where I'd be right now. Like I really don't.
Right. Awesome. So thank you for sharing your first part. I'm excited we're going to tune back in probably. Let's give it another year. And
yeah,
I'm excited to see part two. This is going to be amazing.
yep,
But yeah, thank you for
definitely.
sharing your story.
Thank you for everything you're doing for everyone and how you're changing, you know, just changing people's lives.
Appreciate that. Thank you.